everyone is tired. So there's a confluence of other symptoms kind of around that, but I'd say 99.9% of people have fatigue. That's one thing, is there's a lot of bad supplements. Use the more expensive one. I know we want to save money, but you're not doing yourself any favors if you're accidentally taking amphetamines or you're taking something that doesn't even have a single drop of the ingredient that's supposed to be in it. Like, well, it's not that food allergies aren't real, and it's not that supplements don't work. It's that you didn't have the right one for you, and that's just information, and then you can move forward from there. Then they think the test is fake because they're like, I eat that all the time. Why would that all show up? Well, do you feel like garbage all the time? Well, yeah, but it's not that. Oh, but it is. The goal is not, oh, you never eat any of these foods ever again. It's let's fix things. For the most part, we find that people are able to reintroduce like % of their foods. What do I do right now today to feel better? Just stop eating for at least 30 days. I guarantee you'll feel at least some % better.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. Today we are welcoming Kristen Blake, the founder of KB Wellness, and a amazing guest who is going to give you everything you need to know about integrative nutrition and holistic practices. Kristen, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So you are a mom of 3 boys. You are a wife. You have started this incredible wellness practice, and you're helping women worldwide to just feel better. So what got you started on this path?
Yeah, there was kind of 2 paths that converged. It's a long story that I will make short. So when I was younger, I was really sick. I had fevers, rashes. I would pass out, sometimes bleeding too much. Couldn't stop bleeding when I had blood draws. And then other times it was clotting, and just a whole host of issues. And I saw a million different doctors, and no one could figure out what was wrong with me. And it got worse and worse throughout my life. I had babies and was getting worse. And then I saw them start to have some symptoms that, again, I'm going down this conventional path and being told, I don't know what's wrong with you. Here, try this cream, or try this. You have a fever, take Tylenol. You have a rash, use this cream. And it was really just like a pill for every ill, covering up symptoms. And they started doing that with my kids too. And something inside of me was like, nope, this is not right. I've got to figure this out. I've accepted what they said for far too long, and I just can't accept it anymore. Now, around that same time, my husband was playing for the LA Lakers. He was in the NBA for 13 years, and they had just hired this amazing doctor who was also a nutritionist. And she came in and really shook things up. She wanted to take more of a holistic approach. She wanted to address nutrition, and she worked with the players' families because we are the ones feeding them and buying the food and things like that. And she started teaching me about nutrition. She started teaching me how to read labs and how to read testosterone values, the free versus the total, because before they were just running the guys regular total testosterone. If you're not breaking that down and looking at the free, that's what's bioavailable. So she opened everybody's eyes, and we started doing what she said. We all started feeling better. My husband had what would have been a career-ending injury and was able to heal using nutrition and some of the other things that she had taught us, and then play for another 5 years when it should have been career ending. He came back. He was feeling great. My kids' eczema is clearing up. I'm starting to feel better. So I was really hooked on the power of nutrition at that point, and then also going deeper than just the status quo. So I started researching on my own and figured out kind of on my own what was wrong with me. I became addicted to PubMed and reading research studies. Through that, I figured out what was going on, and then I sought care in the appropriate areas. It turns out I had undiagnosed chronic Lyme, I had POTS, I had MCAS, I had SIBO, I had all the letters and all the things. And from getting well from that, everyone around me started noticing, going, oh my gosh, you used to be like sick all the time and you're better. What are you doing? Can you help me? And so I realized, okay, I think I do want to help other people with this. And I went back to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, started with a health coach certification, went on to get autoimmune protocol certified. Then I went on and I got a master's of science in clinical nutrition and human performance. And then just kept expanding the scope and the size of my practice, and eventually had a wait list. So I had to bring on someone to work with me. So I have an RD, an RN, 2 health coaches. And so we all work together on helping people dive deeper, find the root cause, and really take back their health in ways that I wish I had a me 20 years ago. So I want to be that for other people.
That is incredibly inspirational. And I always say about the very best guests that we have on is that, there is nothing more motivating than seeking out answers for your own health problems. But I just found there is something more motivating, and it's your kids.
Yes.
because because we will deal with like an X
Mhm.
amount of things, but
Yeah.
then all of a sudden when we see it, our kids are like, nope, never mind, no more. That's my line. So that's so incredible. And you've built this incredible thing now where you get to see the use and save them all of that time and effort. And it's just amazing. Um, as a practitioner, what are some of the most common symptoms that women are seeking your help for?
Definitely fatigue. Everyone is tired. So there's a confluence of other symptoms kind of around that. But I'd say 99.9% of people have fatigue, whether that's all day fatigue or they're like, I wake up okay and then I crash, or at night I'm so tired I'm crawling into bed at 7. I can't make it till 9 or 10. Everyone is tired. We also do a lot of gut health in my practice. So I do end up attracting a lot of people with gas, pain, bloating, constipation is super, super common. Diarrhea. We also work with a lot of autoimmune patients. So they'll have also this cluster of symptoms. Usually, there could be joint pain, there could be rashes, depending on which autoimmune disease they have. But everyone is really fatigued and really tired. And I'm always shocked. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying with we can deal with a lot. I'm always shocked at how bad it is for people by the time they come to us, and I'll run their labs. So I'm like, you are this close to needing a blood transfusion. You have no ferritin, you have no iron, like your hemoglobin is a train wreck. Like, what? How can you function? And they're like, yeah, it is like so hard to even get out of bed every day. So everyone is, I think, even more tired than they realize. And we'll walk through this process with people figuring out why and what's going on, because it can be a variety of factors, which we can get into. But it's really fun when they get to the end, they look back and they go, I thought I was like, okay, but oh my gosh, that was so bad. And I feel so much better now. And that's really rewarding to get to walk people through that.
It's so true. The normalization of just off the chart. I'm so glad you said that people come to you and you're like, how are you standing?
Yeah.
What's happening? And they're like, really? I just thought I was. I am wondering when we talk about fatigue, because I think a lot of people are under the impression, well, first of all, we say, this is a season and I will next year it'll be better. I'll be less. This is just a crazy time right now. It's always like in a few months I'll feel better.
Yeah.
But how much of people's fatigue is like circumstantial with the amount that we're trying to put into our everyday lives? And how much of it is like biological, like happening within the body that we really need to take control of?
Yeah, that's a great question. Hard to answer because they kind of go together. So we'll have someone that from circumstances and situations, they're kind of burning the candle at both ends. And then that creates this physiological dysfunction where they have really low cortisol, their adrenals are burned out, they're not making DHA, they're not making cortisol, they're not making anything, they can barely function. Or they're working so hard that they're running around and eating like 2 chicken nuggets off their kid's plate, and they're not chewing their food, they're not digesting their food, therefore they're not absorbing their nutrients. They end up with really low iron, and then their hair is falling out, and then that is going to influence their thyroid function, and then they're hypothyroid, and then they're more tired. So it's like they really go hand in hand. It's like the behaviors and the lifestyle drive this physiological dysfunction.
That's wild. I think, this is so relatable, first of all. And so many people are wondering about that root cause. Is it that like I need to quit my job? Is it that like I need to enroll my kids in like 15 less like activities? Like
Yeah.
what? Or is this something that I need to supplement? Like, is it me on the inside? So I think that that's a really common and relatable thing. And I love to hear like that you're approaching it from this all encompassing view of like lifestyle and, these physiological features. Can you talk to me about your feelings on caffeinating the fatigue?
Yeah, so
Because
you're
we're
just
doing that.
masking it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're masking the problem. And I'm not anti caffeine. I drink a cup of coffee every morning. Sometimes I drink a second one when I sit down at my desk after I've had breakfast, I've worked out, I've showered. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm still not there yet for work. So sometimes I'll have a second one, but that's different than pounding energy drinks all throughout the day or depending on caffeine all throughout the day. 1 or 2 cups of coffee. And this also, I'm obsessed with genetics. So there's a gene that processes, it impacts how well you process caffeine. And so if you're a slow caffeine metabolizer, 1 cup you might be shaky. So you probably shouldn't have any. But then there's people that are fast metabolizers where they, theoretically could have like 5 cups and barely feel it. I still don't think anyone should be drinking 5 cups of coffee. But if you're in the middle, you can have a little bit of coffee. It's not that big of a deal. It's not going to disrupt your sleep at night. You want it to be in the morning. Don't drink any caffeine past lunchtime. But if you're finding that you're reliant on it versus like, I like it, I feel good, I'm focused, I'm ready, but you're like, I can't function or live without this, that's a problem. That's a clue we've got something going on. We've got some adrenal dysfunction. We've got some issues with cortisol, maybe some blood sugar issues, maybe iron, maybe thyroid. This is where I like to really dive in and figure out what is it for you. And I'll say I've been doing this for 10 years. I've never told someone you have to quit your job, you have to give up your life, right? So you don't have to like totally throw everything out the window, but we do tell people a lot to slow down. So we'll say, maybe don't wake up and do CrossFit and HIIT at 5 a.m. if you're super duper tired and fatigued. Like, let's shelve that for when you're healed. And right now, we're going to maybe sleep in a little bit more. We're going to do walks. We're going to do yoga, and we will get you back to where you can go back to doing what you loved. But there's a time and a season, and we might be in a healing season. And so we're not saying quit everything that you're doing, but just like take it down a notch if you're super fatigued.
I love that. One of the things that I think that people really look past when it comes to fitness is when it becomes like a sort of, it's not good anymore. It crosses a line where waking up at 5 a.m. to do CrossFit is doing more harm to your body than it is good. And I think we have a really hard time like distinguishing when that point is. And like, because we know, we have to fit this in. This is important to our life. But I think it's really important. And I'm so glad you said it, because we've got a lot of women listening that are real type A's, and they absolutely find a way to fit in their workouts, like no matter what, even if it's to their detriment. And I think that it's important to look at that. And I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. And I love to use data whenever we can. I'm very data driven in my practice. So if you wear an Oura ring, let's look at your HRV. Let's see what your recovery is looking like. And if your HRV is tanked, like let's back off on the workouts. And if we run a cortisol panel and it's just super low and flatlined, we know, and we can show you, clinical trials on this. If you don't believe us at first, we can show you evidence that flatlined cortisols with an absence of a cortisol awakening response, which is the spike you're supposed to get, are correlated to higher rates of cancer and autoimmune disease. Wow. So it's that important. And so sometimes people those type A women, myself included, we don't want to give up what we love. And we're like, no, it's my mental health. Is it really? Or are you telling yourself that? And so if we can use some data and give you new things to do for your mental health and reframe it as this is temporary and let's kind of recover and rejuvenate, that data can really drive it. And hey, maybe your HRV is great and your cortisol is great, and then we'll leave you alone and let you keep doing your CrossFit and your HIIT. But we want to see that evidence to help, let's all get on the same page and work together.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit about some minerals, because I think that these are just now sort of they're getting hot. People are now, especially magnesium. I think that, everyone's looking for sleep solutions, and this has become sort of at the forefront. I want to talk about energy, recovery, and sleep, and potential mineral imbalances that people could be facing that they might not even have thought of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, magnesium is great. I love magnesium. And there's so many different kinds, and they all are going to do something different. So this is where it gets kind of like lost in the sauce, is you'll see online people saying like everyone needs magnesium. And so you run out and you buy magnesium. If you bought the wrong kind, it might not be doing what you want it to do. So if you want to calm down at night and you want to have better sleep, you're going to get magnesium glycine. If you want to support your muscle function, you're going to get magnesium malate. If you are constipated, you're going to want either oxide or citrate, but please don't do too much of either. They draw a lot of water to the stool, so they're less absorbed into the GI tract. They're less bioavailable, which at first that sounds bad. Like, oh, I want something bioavailable. You actually, for constipation, you want it to not be as bioavailable. You want it to sit in the GI tract. It draws water molecules in, so it helps the stool pass more easily. So if you're going too high of a dose, you're going to have diarrhea. So that's why I say be careful. Don't use too much. I like to use a product that has a blend of a little bit of citrate, a little bit of oxide, a little bit of malate. So it's much more gentle and buffered versus just let's draw all the water. But if you're trying to get it to cross the GI lining, not just sit there and grabs onto some water, and you want it to go and travel around your body and do other things, then that's when you want the other forms like magnesium glycinate, magnesium malate, and taurate. There's a lot of different kinds. I did a post on this a couple months ago where I broke down all the different types and like what you want them for. So magnesium is great. You just need to know like what you're doing with it.
Do the majority of people need to supplement in the like mineral, like iron, sodium? Like, are the majority of people that you're seeing with some of these common symptoms, are they level there, or are they showing like extreme disparities?
Yeah, great question. So one thing that we know after studying soil for the past 100 years is that it has been getting more and more depleted in nutrients, including minerals, over farming, monocrop farming, glyphosate, things like that. So we know that people are going to be more prone to being deficient in a lot of different things, minerals included. Now, what doesn't ring true for me in my practice, what I've seen is it's not really a general across the board unless we're
Okay.
talking about magnesium. So perfect segue from that, because magnesium, I think most people are deficient in. Outside of that, we see minerals have a very delicate balance in the body. So some of them compete for binding sites, some of them block absorption of other ones, some are cofactors in transporting them other places. Like copper is important for ceruloplasm, which then impacts transferrin, which then impacts ferritin, which impacts your iron stores. So you start at copper and you end up at iron. So it's very complex. And then we have something like zinc and copper, they compete for binding sites. So if you are pounding zinc because you're like, it's winter, I don't want to get sick.
Yeah.
You are competing for those binding sites. You're going to shove all the copper out of the way. It's not going to get into that receptor that it needs to. Bye copper, that's gone out of your body, and now you're copper deficient because you pounded too much zinc. So the rule of thumb for everyone listening for zinc is no more than 45 milligrams for no more than 4 months. So if you are in an acute illness state, you're sick, you want to pound 50 milligrams for a week, have at it, but then calm down and don't do that year round for 5 years straight, or you will have like the worst copper deficiency known to man, and then you're going to have iron issues because again, copper is important for ceruloplasm and iron transport. So again, it goes back to like everyone's going to be different. Sometimes we'll run blood work for minerals, for vitamins. Sometimes we'll do HTMAs. Sometimes we do both. Kind of depends what we think is going on with the person. We like to be very strategic with our labs and not just say everybody gets everything. But when we are running an HTMA, we rarely see the same pattern. Like sometimes it's, well, their calcium was too high and their magnesium was low. And another time it's the opposite. And sometimes the lithium's really low. And lithium, by the way, is in water, and it's in different amounts in different places because we're getting it naturally from like the rocks. And obviously, rocks are different places. And it's super important for mood stabilization. So we've had multiple women that come in, they're like, I'm just so irritable and like almost depressed, and I don't know what's going on. And at first we think hormones, we test their hormones and it's normal. Then we do an HTMA, their lithium's low. We give them a minute dose, like water, the type that would be in water kind of a dose. We're not talking about high dose lithium, which would be used for bipolar disorder. So we give them this tiny little sprinkle of lithium and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Everything's amazing. So everyone's minerals are going to be different. So that makes it really hard to blanket and be like, everyone should take all the minerals, because it really depends on that balance, which is why I love the HTMA when we're trying to get really, really dialed in with that balance.
I love the personalized approach. I know that a lot of people, it's hard. We are busy. We want sort of like a one size fits all, like,
Yeah.
well, I'll just take a supplement and like
Yeah.
fix all that. But truly the reminder that you are so unique. Your genetics are so unique. Your environment is so unique, and everything that goes into your, personal deficiencies is just, it's not going to be a one size fits all. And I think that that's a really important reminder.
Yeah. Yep. And we work with people sometimes 3 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes longer, but it's like shocking how much data you can get on yourself, how much you can learn, how much you can dial in just 3 months. So while it feels really overwhelming to like start some big program, when you think about it in your entire lifespan, if you can just carve out like 3 to 6 months to like really dive in there and learn your body, what does it need? What are your kind of weak spots? And how can you fuel your body best? Then you can take that through your lifespan and really just carry that with you and maybe just do little tweaks here and there. But after that initial time frame, you learn so much about your body, especially if we're diving into genetics and we can teach you about, maybe you have VDR TAC and that's why you're just always low in vitamin D. And like, why are you always low? Well, it's your genes. So now you're going to need to probably supplement with vitamin D for life if you have VDR TAC versus if you don't, maybe you just had a deficiency because of a gut issue. We boost that up and then just go in the sun and you're fine. So you just can learn so much about your body and take that with you.
Hey, you.
Thanks for getting in touch with the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast.
We love your questions and adore hearing from you.
Leave us a hello,
A burning question,
feedback,
or anything else you want to share with us on the podcast.
We will play your message live on air if we can.
Thanks for being an amazing friend. Stay safe and moving.
Is there a preferred method? Now, I know it's going to be different from supplement to supplement, but I have seen, just speaking on magnesium, that there are, like sprays that absorb into your skin, and then there are like lotions, and then there are like, obviously a traditional kind of vitamin sort of supplement. Do you have a preferred way for the majority of your minerals, or does it vary?
It varies and then person to person. So kids will use spray a lot. They can't swallow pills. Like a lot of liquids taste gross. So anytime we can use like a cream or a spray with a kid, we will. And so I love magnesium spray on the bottom of your feet before bed if you've got an anxious kiddo that has a hard time falling asleep. And then if you're an adult where you're like, I like that too, that's fine too. Some people are like, I never remember anything in liquid form. I need pills like in my pill dispenser. And so we'll pull from that because the most helpful supplement is the one that you take and you remember to take.
And there's the truth. On supplements, we love, if I find that this isn't working out, rather than, overhauling my whole life and not eating 3 chicken nuggets from my kid's plate in between sports practices, I'll just take something. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the potential where supplements might do more harm than they do good. Like, are we needing to be really careful with the brands that we're using, the dosages that we're using? Like, what are we doing to our liver here if we're just over supplementing rather than using nutrition?
Yes, that's a great question. So, first of all, let's talk about which supplements are good versus bad. There's a wide variety of good to bad out there. And one thing I'll say, I was actually at a conference this weekend talking to a supplement company about a recent study that came out showing how much of the supplements you get on Amazon are not the supplement you think that you're getting. It is something else entirely. It is tampered with. There was one, they were studying urolithin A, and which is like a hot new thing on the market right now. And they tested what was in the capsule, and 0% of what was in that capsule was urolithin A. They don't know what it was, but it was not urolithin A. So don't get them on Amazon. Don't get them from GNC. I hate to say it, but those are not good quality brands. One of the things that anybody can look for to try to kind of screen this out is GMP. So if it has a GMP label on it, that stands for good manufacturing practices. And they are following a certain set of practices that are known to get the job done correctly. They are testing it. They're doing third-party analysis, things like that. And so that's really important, is looking for the quality of it. I have kind of my favorite brands that I will always pull from, that I know I've vetted, I've trusted. They're GMP supplements, they're practitioner grade. All of our clients have access to our full script dispensary, which has all of the practitioner grade supplements. So you're able to, it's like Amazon, but not shady, and it's coming right from the company. And it's all of the good brands like Integrative Therapeutics and Metagenics and Thorne and things like that. There was also a study that was done in Canada. I think it was like 5 or 10 years ago at this point, but it's equally shocking, where they pulled off the shelf from a local drugstore dozens of supplements, and they found that only a tiny percentage of them had an accurate amount of what was in there to the label. So some not only like didn't have the full amount of what you're like, let's say you're trying to get magnesium and you need 100 milligrams to be able to sleep good, and this only has like 20. Well, yeah, that might be why that supplement didn't work, right? Because there wasn't enough in it. But what's even crazier is that some of them had ingredients that were not on the label.
Oh boy.
And this is where it gets crazy. I did a post on this a couple weeks ago too. There was an over-the-counter supplement that had amphetamines in it. And like it was like a pre-workout or something, and it had like literal drugs in it, and that's not on the label, and that's not supposed to be in there. So that got pulled. But it's not well regulated. The supplement industry is not well regulated, unfortunately. GMP is one where like they are checking it and they're regulating it, which is why I like that. And then another label you can look for is NSF. So that's certified safe for sport. I work with professional athletes. My son plays basketball in college, and he gets drug tested, and my athletes get drug tested randomly year round. And I am not going to give them a supplement that ruins their entire life and their entire career. So NSF, they are screening it for banned substances. So they have somebody else come in and make sure everything in this capsule is okay and nothing is a banned substance by accident. Because what happens with some of these not so good factories is they're pumping out a bunch of stuff on the same conveyor belt and with the same machinery. And so they were making something over here. Well, now that got into this, even though it wasn't supposed to be in it. So NSF facilities are only processing things that are approved and not banned substances. So that's another kind of like layer of support. And that's what I always use with my athletes, because it's crazy out there. So that's one thing, is there's a lot of bad supplements. Steer clear of them. Use the more expensive one. Like, I know we want to save money, but you're not doing yourself any favors if you're accidentally taking amphetamines, or you're taking something that doesn't even have a single drop of the ingredient that's supposed to be in it. You just paid money for nothing. You just wasted your money. So pay extra for the good supplements. So I'll say that. And then the liver thing. So yeah, you got to know what you're taking. Are you taking the right dose? Are you taking the right amount? Are you taking it at the right time? Like, again, going back to things compete for binding sites. If you are taking your calcium with your iron supplement, you just took nothing, because those are going to compete and the calcium is going to block the iron. So let's say you have iron deficiency anemia and you're taking your calcium because you also have osteoporosis and you're doing it at the same time. Yeah, you didn't help your anemia at all, because the calcium blocked that absorption. So you got to know what you're taking, when to take it. This is something we do with all of our clients. We make these massive spreadsheets, and of everything they come to us with. Some of that we're like, can we not do that anymore? Any medications they're on, we have to screen for medications, and then we help them time it out during the day, so they're not taking the wrong thing with the wrong thing. And then again, going back to the liver, curcumin in high doses has been shown to negatively impact liver function. Now, I love curcumin, and we do give that to people all the time, but we don't super dose them for 10 years, but people are doing this because they don't have this knowledge. They didn't go to 5-6 years of school like we did to learn this kind of stuff. And so they're like, oh, curcumin is good for inflammation. It's good for joint pain. I'm going to take this indefinitely. And some of the dosages that you can purchase are really high because that's intended for short-term use, but it doesn't say that on there. And so if you don't know that, then you might be taking the wrong dose for the wrong time frame, and you could certainly do more harm than good. I've had people come to me with absolute just buckets full of supplements, and they're just like emptying it out on the desk when we're talking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did someone put you on all of these? And they're like, nope, did it myself. And I'm like, oh no. We got to walk this back.
So it's admirable, right? Because you have these symptoms and you're
Mhm.
seeing, a traditional, your primary, and I don't know,
They're
you
not
could
helping.
you could be crazy. I'm not
Yeah,
sure. Have you thought
right.
of lowering your stress?
Right.
Like and so, you get to be like a Google doctor and you end
Yeah.
up with all of these things, but it's so true that like that is wildly dangerous, not even just because you don't have the knowledge, but then also because you can't trust the supplements.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Oh
really
my
scary.
God. That is so scary.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I just have to geek out for a second on like the spreadsheet and the timing and stuff
Yeah.
like that, because like I know that a lot of people might think like, whoa, that's really extra, but like I don't do my own dental work. I don't cut my own hair.
Mhm.
I like, what could be more important than what is going in your body on a daily basis and how it's functioning on a daily basis? And why wouldn't I have a spreadsheet
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
by a professional?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I need a spreadsheet immediately. I'm like, okay, hold on. Where's mine? Okay, let's talk about gut health a little bit, because you do a really lot with gut health. And I
Mhm.
know that, one of your main points that you drive home is like, and this is getting more popular, that like that is the base of
Yeah.
all of our functioning.
Yeah.
When it comes to food sensitivities,
Mhm.
I think people are really confused in this area. And I think that it's really tricky to pin down. And then there are times where like it's everything.
Yeah.
Why is everything I'm eating? Like I just ate plain white rice and like I'm sick.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about like food sensitivities, the gut, and maybe where we're going wrong on this?
Yeah. So I'll start off by a brief overview. We have allergies, which is IgE. We have sensitivities, which is IgG. We also can measure, no one seems to measure, but we always do in my practice, IgG4, which is kind of like a blocking mechanism for IgG. So that will shoot up before the IgG shoots up. We also, anecdotally, we see really high rates of IgG4 in people that have eosinophilic esophagitis. So we've had a couple people come into us. We test for it. Their IgG4 is like lit up like a Christmas tree. And we're like, you need a scope. And they go and they get a scope and they're diagnosed with EOE. And then complement protein 3 is another thing that we can look at. And that actually amplifies the other sensitivities by 10,000 fold. So when we look at this big picture, we can see everything that's going on and we can get a lot more strategic and intelligent about what are we removing for how long and why. Our goal is to not remove a ton of foods, so we try to really get picky and choosy with that, because what tends to happen if people do this on their own is they'll go, I don't know, I think I respond negatively to these 50 things. They take them out and they're eating like 4 foods. Well, you then are going to develop a sensitivity to those 4 foods, and I'll explain that in a moment, the loss of oral tolerance and increasing allergies. So then you're allergic to those 4 foods. And so then you're like, okay, I'm going to eat one food and it's this other one from over here. That works for only so long. And then you're allergic to that food too. So what happens is we have an immune system that lives in our gut, and it lives behind this. It's supposed to be kind of like a fishnet stocking. And when we've got these big gaping holes and it's a chain link fence instead of a fishnet stocking, or we've got just like complete missing chunks in here. Those are called enterocytes, those cells that live right there. And that's that barrier. And so what's supposed to happen is the food comes through and there's a little bit of a sensing process where the immune system will send something up and say friend or foe, and then it will allow absorption of the nutrients across that gut lining. And then the body can then process that and deal with that appropriately. That's the way it's supposed to work. But when we've got this chain link fence, or we've got entire missing chunks of the fence, things are just flying through. These antigens are coming through, and the immune system's like, hold up, that didn't go through the proper process. That's not supposed to be back here. What on earth is this? I don't like this. I'm going to attack this. And it launches an immune attack. And so that could be IgE, it could be IgG, but there's friendly fire in there. So then we get inflammation, we get further damage of the gut lining. Through that inflammation, we end up with joint pain and brain fog and fatigue and things like that. Now, IgE allergies you tend to feel this fast. IgG can take up to 4 days to feel. because it's this long smoldering process of inflammation, like this fire in the body. And so that's where it gets really confusing, because over the course of 4 days, you might have eaten 27 different things. And then you get a migraine. Well, which thing gave you the migraine? I don't know. You ate 27 different things, and you're not going to stop eating all of those things, or at least you shouldn't. So when we are using a food allergy test, and there's pros and cons to it, there are some weaknesses to it. It's not infallible. It's just a tool. It is not the end all be all, but it is a really good tool for us to get smarter about, ooh, it looks like there's a really big fire every time you have gluten and chickpeas. So let's stop with those for a little bit, and then let's heal that fence back up. Let's turn that chain link fence into fishnet stockings again. So we're going to go in and we're going to do some gut healing. We're going to do some gut testing and some healing. And we're going to use the appropriate herbs at the appropriate time. Maybe you're also going to be drinking some bone broth and things like that to help heal up the gut, so that then we've got it nice and closed again. And then you can have those foods back. So the goal is not, oh, you never eat any of these foods ever again. It's let's fix things. Let that immune system calm down. It's all riled up. It thinks it needs to go on this all out attack every time it sees a chickpea. Let's tell it to chill. And then we've healed everything up. And then you can have your chickpeas back again without a problem. And for the most part, we find that people are able to reintroduce like 80 to 90% of their foods.
Wow.
Everyone's different. If you have a highly allergic individual, they have had a lot of atopy in their life. They had eczema their whole life. They have asthma. They've always had allergies. That's going to be harder to reintroduce as many foods. And there's other root cause things that we want to do there to help lower that body burden and that histamine bucket and stabilize mast cells and things like that. But as a general rule, you should be able to get most of your foods back if you've gone through this process appropriately. And then at the end of the day, you find like, your body just really doesn't like this one thing, and that's okay, but you got everything else back and you feel better and your skin's better and your gut is healthy and everything's great. Now, one other thing I'll say about that is, as you heard me say, there's 4 different things we test for. There's tests on the market that just test for one, or they just test for the other one. You're going to get a false sense of security. You're going to run that test. You're going to be like, cool, I just need to take out dairy and blueberries and I'm good. And you take out dairy and blueberries and you don't get any better. And you're like, this whole thing is stupid and food allergies is stupid. Well, you maybe just ran IgE only and you didn't run IgG and you didn't run the complement protein. So if you're just doing one or the other, and I'm not saying like, if that's where your budget's at and that's all you can do, that's okay. But just don't get a false sense of security in that and think, well, this whole thing is terrible, because people will throw up their hands after something like that, or they take a supplement that doesn't work. And It's like, well, it's not that food allergies aren't real. And it's not that supplements don't work. It's that you didn't have the right one for you. And that's just information. And then you can move forward from there.
I love the hope that if we do have some sensitivities, that it's not a forever thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that people sort of get stuck in this like all or nothing kind of like, well, if everything's going to make me sick, then I'll just be sick, because I'm not just going to eat. Yes. Like, I'm not giving up bread. I'm not giving up these things. And like, if this is how I have to live, then fine. And then on the other hand, people are, taking out everything. And as you mentioned, having more issues with the foods that they leave. Can you explain why when we just say like, okay, I'm on an elimination, I'm only eating these things so that I can make sure I don't get sick, why does our body respond poorly to that?
Yes, great question. So going back to that little opening in the fence and the way the immune system is supposed to work, when things are just kind of coming back into contact with the immune system, they're like soldiers and they have Post-it notes. And so every time they encounter something that they're like, oh, this is sketchy, it's not supposed to be here, they make a little note and they pass it along to their fellow soldiers. And so let's say you have something once a week. And so you're getting like a smattering of Post-it notes passed around that like, we don't like this thing. We get angry when it's here, but it's not that bad because you're having other things and it can kind of lay a little bit low. Let's say you are eating that same thing every single day, twice a day. Think about how many more Post-it notes you have going around than if you had only eaten it once a week. And each Post-it note is an instruction for this soldier to go for it and go all out every time he sees this food. And so now you've got 10,000 soldiers on attack every time you eat this food instead of maybe 2. And so now you have this massive attack, this massive immune response, and this massive amount of inflammation. So the more you're restricting, the more you're you have to eat that one food because you don't have anything else. And so that's why we try to keep the diet as wide as possible. And we really advise people against overly restricting, because you will end up in that same boat. And I always warn people before we run this test, if they've already self-restricted, which we have a lot of people, because they're trying their best, they're trying to fix themselves. They've gotten no guidance from their doctor. They don't know what else to do, but they know they don't feel great when they eat certain things. So they're taking them out and they're taking them out and they're taking them out. And then they come to us and they've already been really, really restricted. And so I warn them, I go, you are going to look very allergic to all of your favorite foods. And that's going to feel shocking and terrible, but it's okay because we'll help you get them back. We're just going to have to walk through this process together of maybe mitigating and lowering this one while increasing this other one that came back clear on your test. And so we'll help guide them and walk them through that. But I always warn people, because they think the test is fake, because they're like, I eat that all the time. Why would that all show up? Well, do you feel like garbage all the time? Well, yeah, but it's not that. Oh, but it is. That's definitely a piece of the puzzle. There's more to it, but that's definitely a piece of the puzzle.
Oh man, you just hit it on the head. That's like every person I've ever talked to that has done the food sensitivity test. They're like, well, this can't be right. This is all the things I eat.
They did it to themselves.
That does seem weird, but also you don't feel good and you ordered this. So,
yes.
Oh man, that is so great. So when you see someone who's been stuck in this constant inflammation, this cycle of okay, the gut is not healing and we're sending this incredibly crazy immune response and we have this chronic inflammation, is there a road where we can sort of get that lowered a little bit just to sort of get back on track? What is the first thing that people could do if they're really, really having trouble there?
Stop eating gluten. That's the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
That's the easiest thing. Gluten triggers zonulin. Zonulin is a peptide in the gut that causes intestinal permeability. So this was studied by Dr. Alessio Fasano at Harvard. There's a lot of great information about this, and he's proven time and time again, we have high zonulin, we have leaky gut. Gluten triggers the release of zonulin. So if you are I don't know where to start or what to do, I know people hate when I say this, but just stop eating gluten for a while. If you can get in there and get guidance, working with somebody like us and really get it all dialed in and figure it out, awesome. But if you can't do that and you're like, what do I do right now today to feel better? Just stop eating gluten for at least 30 days. I guarantee you'll feel at least some percent better, because you're starting to calm that inflammation, calm that leaky gut. And the leakier the gut is, the more immune overreactivity we have and issues we have with that. And then brain fog. And then that's not even accounting for lipopolysaccharides, or LPS, which are particles that cause issues all throughout the body. And those are really high in people with really leaky gut, can lead to cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, all kinds of things. So just stop eating gluten if you don't know what else to do. And I mean 100% when I say that. So this is another thing that I'll say, is that people are like, I don't eat much gluten. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean? And they're like, well, just when I go out to eat, if the bread's really good, or
if it's not good,
right? Just a little here and there. And it's okay, I get that, but you're never going to see the results if you do that, because this is other research that we know, and Dr. Tom O'Brien talks about this. If you are highly reactive to gluten, which a lot of people that feel really bad are, it's just part of this whole immune overreactivity. An eighth of the size of your thumbnail's worth of gluten, which that's cross-contamination. That's not even a nice piece of bread here and there. An eighth of a thumbnail size can disrupt your gut for several months. So if you're trying to really see, is this going to make me feel better or not? You can't just do a little bit of bread and a little bit of pizza here and there. If you want to actually know and be a detective, you have to go all in. And that's different than somebody that maybe is trying to lower it for other reasons or whatever. But if you want to do detective work and find out, is this going to help me feel better or not? With gluten, it has to be 100%, because that's just how disruptive and pervasive it is. It's so hard for the body to break down those molecules. If you look at gluten under a microscope, it's like this ball of spaghetti. It's so hard to break down.
I I definitely hear you on the all in, and I also hear you on the like that doesn't mean it's forever,
Yeah.
right? You get yourself back to a good place.
Yep.
And there is a really robust gluten-free market that is like, kind of exploding right now because of this knowledge that we now have. So I feel like there are some good options. It doesn't taste like cardboard anymore, I find.
No.
It
Yeah.
tastes okay.
Yeah, I haven't intentionally eaten gluten in over 10 years. And so it's second nature to me now, right? And I know exactly like what I like and what I don't like and how to order and what I'm going to get and things like that. But so I realized that it is easier for me because I've been doing it for so long and I have a master's degree in nutrition. But I look at people kind of sideways and they're like, I could never. It's so hard. I'm like, then how am I alive? Like, if it's so hard, I've been doing it for 10 years. Like, I'm still here. I just went to France with my husband for our 20th anniversary. And like, there's bakeries everywhere and there's amazing croissants everywhere. And he ate them. And I was like, meh, because I eventually would stumble upon like really good gluten-free options. Like if they didn't have it, I would have something else. And then I had an amazing gluten-free crepe one day. I had amazing bread with gluten-free bread with escargot another day. So pasta, I had this incredible pasta with like truffle sauce on it. And so I'll always ask, like, do you have a gluten-free pasta or a bread or whatever? And if they do, amazing. And if they don't, whatever, I'll just order eggs for breakfast that day instead. And like, eventually I'll get the gluten-free thing. Like it's not, I think we put too much stock in food and let it like control our lives and our happiness. And it's like, there's better things out there than a piece of bread. I promise. You can find joy elsewhere.
Especially when it makes you feel like shit the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? For what? For
and that's
one
what you get
moment?
to decide is it worth it? And
Sure.
I love doing that with my clients. Like we'll go through this elimination diet and then we'll figure out, oh, we feel okay on this, and this. This one thing makes us feel like shit. Is it worth it to you or not? And they get to decide. Like you have power at the end of the day.
Yes.
But if you don't walk through that process and figure out what it is, you have no power because you don't know why you felt like shit. Was it the bread or was it the dairy or was it the legumes or was it the lectins? Like you have no clue. Once you walk through that process, we're now empowering you to make whatever decision you want on how do you want to feel that day and what's most important to you. So for me in France, I want to be hiking. I want to be biking. I want to be doing all of the things. I do not want to feel like garbage. If I am going to feel like garbage, it's because I had a little bit too much wine. I'd rather do that than bread. Like I can choose what I want.
That's
and
your choice.
like, yeah, I did have too much wine one day because that was my choice. But you can't make that choice from an informed position if you don't know what's impacting you. So that's another way we walk through those food eliminations, like you said, is, it's not forever. And we get information at the end of it that you then can do what you would like with it. But you will never get there if you don't walk through that process originally to figure it out.
Oh my God, power over everything. And like I have people in my life that are like, yeah, I can't eat dairy, but I'm eating this ice cream right now. And it's going to be a bad time.
It's only an hour, right?
It's going to be a bad time. But the last 5 times I've said no, so I'm saying, and that is empowering. Like you said, it really is the decision to choose and not just to be sick without any knowledge of why. It's so good.
We're going to take a quick break to get you a whole bunch of friends.
Do you like Friends?
We have about 80,000 amazing women friends, more than that, in one space that can't wait to cheer you on in your fitness journey.
Whether it's lifting you up, getting you motivated to get to the gym, complimenting your outfit, we have gathered 80,000 of the best women on the planet and put them all in one place for your friendship pleasure.
Honestly, I would just pull out some of the amazing quotes from the group because you would think groups like this, you're like, I don't know. And I'm telling you, once you enter in the door, the virtual door, because you can do this anywhere, that you will find the most supportive community you have ever known. And it's called Stronger Together by CVG. You can find us on a Facebook group. It's a closed group, women only. And you got to get in there.
Get in there. It's so inspiring. Join us today. All right, I have a tough one for you.
Okay.
We've got a health industry health and wellness. I love the wellness people. Listen, there are so many myths. There are so many trends. There are people out there giving advice that do not have the credentials. And it's really, really hard to sift through. What myths, trends, what things drive you the most insane when you hear from people like, well, I heard that I'm supposed to, and what do we need to be doing instead?
Oh, I'm so excited to answer this. I have so many. Can we talk for 4 hours? So my top one is going to be DIM, diindolylmethane. Have you heard everybody saying, oh, if you have heavy periods, if you have estrogen dominance, take
Yes.
DIM. Do not do that. DIM is going to shove everything down that 2-OH pathway. And if your COMT pathway is not open, you are going to feel so bad. So let me explain this. So think about you've got a bucket or a bathtub, right? The estrogen is the water in the bathtub, and that's filling up. And if that's too high, you're going to have estrogen dominance. You're going to have heavy periods. You're going to have PMS. You're not going to feel good. You're going to be really cranky, really irritable, especially leading up to your cycle, maybe even blood clots with your periods, things like that. So we don't want to be estrogen dominant, of course, but our estrogen then goes down 3 pathways, 2-OH, 4-OH, 16-OH. And that is going to determine, is this a healthy pathway? Or is this the breast cancer pathway, which you also don't want things flying down that one? Or is this more of like the proliferative toxin-driven pathway? We see that one a lot with endometriosis and things like that. So there's different ways the water can go. And then it's in the bathtub. And if we don't have the drain open, then I don't care what you're doing, trying to shove the water around, like it's still there. And let's say it then spills over into the wrong pathway and it's backflowing, you feel like garbage. So you have to open the stopper. Now, if you don't know if your stopper is open or not, you should not be taking DIM. So we use a test called the Dodge or the Vibrant Hormone Zoomer, where we can see all of the pathways. We know the genetics that impact your pathways. But even if we don't know your genetics, we know how to kind of encourage that methylation cycle of that gene to work better. So for COMT, for example, someone has really slow COMT, they're going to feel typically pretty anxious already. They are going to be kind of like that type A, like wired kind of a person. If they have slow COMT impacts your catecholamines. So these are like neurotransmitters, so which is why it's going to make you feel like really anxious and irritable. So if they have slow COMT, we don't have that open stopper, okay? And then if we're just doing DIM to kind of just like try to dump things out, but it's not going anywhere because that stopper is not open, you're going to feel so bad. But we can upregulate your COMT with B6, with magnesium, with S-adenosine methionine. Sometimes even we could use creatine. Quercetin is going to slow your COMT. So if it's too fast, we know we can slow it with things like quercetin. So depending on what your COMT is doing, we need to make sure that is good first. And then we also want to know, why is your estrogen so high? Is it over aromatizing from testosterone, or are you just making too much? Or is it because of that stopper is open? So that's where we can get a lot more intelligent and strategic about what we're doing versus just take DIM because it might make you feel so much worse. And I've had so many people say, I was told to take DIM and I felt like toxic, like I was being poisoned and dying from the inside out. And that was probably because they had slow COMT. Other people, they're taking it, it's not doing anything because it's just over aromatizing from testosterone, which we need to block that aromatization either by fixing inflammation, fixing their insulin, or sometimes you can use things like nettle, saw palmetto, things like that. So don't just randomly take DIM because you might make yourself infinitely worse. So that's number one. And then the next thing that I hate is following men's science and just applying it to women. So I think this is finally starting to come to the forefront of, we don't have enough studies on women. Researchers literally were like, oh my gosh, periods and hormones are so hard. I don't want to do it.
Not sure about that.
So they're not studying us at all. So all
too
the
complex,
things-
those creatures. Way too complex.
We can't figure that out. So instead of, studying women for things like cold plunges and intermittent fasting and HIIT, we study men and say, yeah, women, you can do it too. And then now more and more is coming out about how that might not always be the right approach for women. Our hormones are much more delicate and sensitive and fluctuating. And maybe we only do it during certain times of the month and not during other times. The ketogenic diet, that was so big. What was that, like 10 years ago was when it really exploded. And then now we know, oops, women need
Whoops.
carbs for their hormones. And when we put women on long-term ketosis, if the pros don't outweigh the cons, so let's say someone has a seizure disorder, then they probably are going to take that hormone hit because they want to protect their brain. But just for like the general person that's like, I just want to lose weight, there are better ways to do that than tanking your hormones and your adrenals. You can do it cyclically, you can do it with your cycle, you can do carb refeeds and cycle through keto. But this whole like keto for life, everyone should do it forever and ever. That might work for men. That does not work for women. So before you do anything, hop on PubMed and see if any of these things have been studied in women. And if they haven't, maybe don't do that yet. Maybe wait till someone studies it, or, try it and actually tune into your body and see, do you feel like hot garbage after? If you are doing intermittent fasted HIIT workouts every day for a month and you're like, I can't function, you just learned something that was not right for you and your body. Listen to that instead of powering through it because someone on Joe Rogan's podcast said it was a good idea.
So not only that, but we have to talk about the fact that it's like, if you're seeing some success on the scale from that, but you feel like hot garbage, that's not success.
Yes. Amen.
Because I think that's a lot of what happened with keto is like people knew that they were feeling horrible. They were literally giving names to the keto flu, like how horrible they felt. And they were like, but I'm down 10 pounds though,
Right.
Look at me go. It's like, girl.
And we don't do weight loss in my practice. People lose weight when they work with us, but we don't do weight loss. We do health. And if your normal weight, healthy weight for you is supposed to be lower, once we've gotten you healthy, like that will be a byproduct. But we don't come in there with like, let's lose weight. And so if somebody comes, I always do discovery calls with people to make sure they're a good fit for us. And so if somebody comes to my discovery call appointment and they're like, I just want to lose 20 pounds. I don't care about my health. I don't care how I do it. Like, I just need you guys to help me lose 20 pounds, and be like, we're not the practice for you. We don't do that. We do health first. We want to get you healthy, and then the weight will normalize and follow on its own.
Isn't that like the thing you want to shout from the rooftops? Because they're thinking about the amount of damage, metabolic damage, and just all the things, fatigue, all that we've gotten over the years from these crash diets and these, things that were studied on men that were never designed for women's hormones. It's just like,
it's so bad. And I did it in the 90s when I was like a teenager, and I didn't know any of this. Slim fast drinks, like what?
Caffeine pills
everything wrong
for the prom.
Yes.
I mean, but these, I mean, thinking about health first and then a healthy weight as the byproduct of health. I've never seen a person that is like, I feel amazing. I function at 100%. I have no physical limitations. And I am like on 100 every day. I've never seen them be unhappy with their weight. Like it's just a byproduct. And I think thinking of health first is like imagine if we could do that. Imagine.
Yeah.
The possibilities.
Health, longevity, lifespan, health span, those things are so important.
Oh my God. I am dreaming of that world, and I know that you are a part of it. You are a massive part of it, and you are doing such important things in this field for these women. How can our listeners get in touch with you? How can they hear more from you if they want to, take some first steps towards maybe getting some of the tests that you offer? Like, what do we do?
Yeah. So Kristen Blake Wellness is the same everywhere. So that's my website is KristenBlakeWellness.com. My YouTube is Kristen Blake Wellness. My Instagram is Kristen Blake Wellness. My Facebook is Kristen Blake Wellness. So same everywhere, and I can be found everywhere. Instagram is, I think, a great place to start because I have so much content on there. So you can kind of get a vibe for like, and I have a post that says start here. And so you can look through that and see what are our different services. There's another one that has our pricing. There's another one that has meet the team. So it talks about my credentials, my team's credentials. How do we all work together on the cases? So it's a great place to start and just kind of peruse that information. I've got lots of videos about what I believe in. So you can see, does that resonate with you? Are you a health first kind of a person? Do you want to work on your hormones hormones, your gut, your food sensitivities, things like that. And then of course the link in bio, there's going to be an area for a discovery call. So that's where I love to start. I want to sit down and talk to you. It's 30 to 45 minutes. And I want to hear your story. I want to hear, what are you here for? What has happened to get you to this point? And then that helps me see, can I reverse engineer how to get you out of it? Or are we not the right fit for you? So if somebody comes in and they've done XYZ and I'm like, ooh, they have SIBO, but nobody worked on their ileocecal valve. Nobody looked at adhesions. Nobody looked at motility. They just keep giving them antibiotics. I can totally do this. Yes, I can help you. This is what it's going to look like. These are the things we're going to work on for you. And I designed their whole program out on that call so they know exactly what they're getting into. What is that going to look like? And then if you decide to move forward with us, we've got a game plan. We're ready to go. If you decide to try it on your own, you've got a game plan to give it a try that way as well. But that discovery call is a great first step. That's, of course, also linked on my website and all over the place. But Instagram, link in bio, discovery call is what you want to look for that.
Kristen, just like, hey, everybody, someone's going to sit down with you and they're going to listen. They're going to listen. They're not going to call you crazy.
Yes.
They're not going to tell you that you are too stressed to continue. Like, this is what people need. This is healthcare. This is you're doing just like the most exciting things in this field. And I just love that you are able to amplify this message and be available to these women, because it's been too long since they've been sat down and listened to and really heard.
They're so dismissed. And sometimes they cry on the call. They're like, no one has listened to me before. No one has asked me these questions before. No one's asked me, when did this start and why is this going on and how long has it been going on? They just tell them, take an antidepressant, drink more water, eat less, move more, whatever, like platitudes are just being thrown at them. And so you're going to make me cry too. It's a privilege and an honor to sit with women and listen to them and hear them, and then also have them come back after we fixed them and bring their husbands and bring their children and bring their moms and dads. We have entire family trees working with us, because when the moms take charge of their health, it's so powerful, and then they feel better and they're empowered, and then they bring their whole family to us. And it's just such a privilege and a blessing and an honor to get to walk alongside all of them and help them be heard and help them finally figure it out. And like I said, provide what I had not had for years and years and years being sick.
And ultimately, they're going to spend more quality, better time together as a result. So bravo to you. Thank you. I cannot say thank you enough for taking the time out to speak to our listeners today. And I will have all of your resources linked in the show notes. I highly, highly suggest starting on the Instagram. That's where I started with Kristen, and I think her Instagram is amazing. And then geek out in the blogs, because I love the blogs too. They were incredible. Kristen, I can't say thank you enough. It was so, so informative. And you guys absolutely feel free to get in the show notes and reach out to her. She's amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun. I appreciate it.